I'm racing the 10th edition of the Transcontinental race. Good morning! Welcome to another ultra cycling related video. If you're already subscribed, thanks for coming back. If this is your first video, I'm Andy. I'm an ultra cyclist on the south coast of the UK, from Portsmouth, down there. The videos I make are about ultra cycling, training and adventures. So if you have endurance goals of your own, subscribe, follow along. I'm sure there'll be something in there for you. If not, maybe you teach me something. On the menu for today, I've got a pretty standard winter endurance training ride, about 100 miles roughly, out to a place called Arundel, which is not too far from where I live. It's a pretty beautiful place, a historic old town built around a medieval castle, so getting medieval today. I'll also talk a bit about the race, my main race for 2024. It's finally buttoned down, nailed down. I paid my deposit. It's 4,000 kilometers long. Pretty long way. Furthest I've ever been. So I'll talk a bit about the logistics of organising something like that, how a race like that even works. So if you've ever been tempted to do an event that long, stick around. When I was planning in this route, I heard rumblings that the flooding was pretty bad. This is crazy. It's like a ford. Usually bone dry. And it hasn't rained here for a little while now. Bonkers. Got a pretty typical January morning for this ride. Temperatures hovering around 0 degrees Celsius. So pretty cold again, a bit colder than last week. But it's absolutely beautiful. I live really close to the South Downs National Park. As soon as I leave Portsmouth, head over that hill, Portsdown Hill, you saw earlier, you're in the South Downs. If you don't know the south of the UK, not from the south of England, you might not know the South Downs, but it's gorgeous. Reminds me quite a bit of Hobbiton in the Shire. Once you get into the small villages, thatched roofs, beautiful. Really takes your mind off of the numb toes, sort of. The South Downs is basically a ridge line that rises up from sea level and then extends all the way, most of the way across the south of England. And today I'll be pretty much hugging it west to east, all the way along to Arundel, up and over, back along the coastal side, which is lovely and flat. You might have heard of the South Downs Way, maybe. That's a 100-mile hiking and mountain bike trail from Winchester all the way over to Eastbourne, along the top of the ridgeline, all the way. It's amazing. I think it's part of my training for my race. I'll be making use of that for sure. Maybe on a road bike, because I might need to. But if you haven't heard of the South Downs Way and you're anywhere near the south of England, it's definitely worth it for a gravel ride or cross-country bike. Loads of gravel bikes do it and it's amazing. Roads here are absolutely trashed still, covered in mud, flowing water across the roads. It hasn't rained for about maybe 2 weeks since the really heavy downpours, and there's still so much water. If you're up in the north, let me know what it's like up there, because we normally get it pretty mildly down here and it's pretty bad.
There's something in the water, I feel it taking over me. It's slowly getting harder to breathe,
On to some pretty exciting news. I alluded to earlier, for a few weeks I mentioned I've been getting my races in order for 2024, and in the last few days finally had confirmation of what my main race will be. I'm racing the 10th edition of the Transcontinental race, and that is crazy to say out loud. Just gave me a shiver. It's a pretty big deal. The TCR in general is huge, and the 10th edition, I'm really excited to get stuck into it. I'm sure some watching this will know exactly what the TCR is, but if you don't, the TCR is the definitive, unsupported, self-supported road race across Europe. roughly 4,000 kilometers long. You plan your own route, so that can vary. And approximately 250,000 feet of elevation. Again, depends on the route you plot and how you choose to attack it. It is very strictly self-supported. You cannot accept any support that isn't commercially available to all racers. If you break down, you're basically on your own to find your way to somewhere, to pay to get a repair done, make your way back to where you broke down and carry on. If you're low on food, you can't accept food from kind strangers. If you do, you're disqualified. You have to contact the organisers, scratch, disqualify yourself. It's very strict. Route-wise, it's an open route race. It has a start in Roubaix Velodrome in France, and it has a finish in Istanbul in Turkey. Outside of that, you have checkpoints along the way that you have to hit. There are also mandatory parcours, which are roads or routes or hiking paths or generally pretty horrible paths with amazing views and scenery. But you have to hit those mandatory parcours. Probably the most exciting part of this edition, other than being the 10th edition, this time, the first time the race goes into Asia. Only just. Istanbul is where east meets west. Half of the city is in Asia and half of it's in Europe. So the checkpoints for this edition, we start in the Roubaix Velodrome. And if you know Paris-Roubaix, you know the velodrome that race finishes. That's where we start. We then pretty much make a beeline, almost, toward Turkey. The next checkpoint after Roubaix is in Slovenia. I can't wait to see Slovenia. I've got friends that have been there and it's gorgeous. After that, carry on southeast towards Kosovo. Then Bosnia, and then after that, carry on towards Istanbul. We hit the city of Çanakkale, which takes us to a pretty awkward place, really. But Çanakkale is actually where the story of the Trojan horse originated. That's where that happened. Again, it'd be pretty cool to see that. Once we're in Çanakkale, there's a big body of water we've got to get around into the back of Istanbul, and that whole section is in Asia. It's my life now. For the next 6 months or so, we'll be planning my route, replanning it, planning it again, tweaking it over and over. The constant worry that I planned a crap route the whole time. Quite curious to see who turns up this time as well. Christoph Strasser won the last 2 editions. I saw Josh Ibbott was considering coming back. He won previously. It'd be really cool to see him there. And I wonder who else. It's the 10th edition, so I think it might bring a few outliers into the mix. So time-wise, this takes the winners generally around 10 days. I'm hoping I won't be that far behind them, but the likelihood of me winning something like that is pretty low. I'm hoping to just make myself proud, really. Making it to the end of that race alone is impressive. Spectating for an event like this is really fun, actually. On the face of it, it sounds really boring. It's called dot watching, and you essentially have a map, Google Maps, looks like Google Maps, with hundreds of little GPS dots that update every few seconds. And that'll tell you someone's stop time, moving time, current speed, some of the weather conditions where they are. But it's pretty brief information, really. When you tie that in with the community aspect, a lot of the news and developments come from Facebook groups and chats information filtering out about people. There was one woman did really well last year, Maria. Really enjoyed watching her race. Again, just a dot on a map. She was doing really well, and I actually raced with her at all points north. And I remember her passing me south from the Scottish borders, her white compression socks. Never saw her again. She's very strong. She got all the way to the end, something like maybe 100k from the very end, and crashed on mandatory parkour, gravel road, and nobody knew what was going on. Her dot stopped, and before you know it, her dot was in the hospital, so we're all worried. And then eventually her partner came in to update everybody on exactly what had happened. That information feeds through quite gradually. It's way more exciting than it sounds. But she didn't finish in the end. She was too injured. She was considering resting up and then taking on the last 100k. Couldn't do it. So she's at this time. I have to find her and shake her hand. What a hard nut. So there we go. That's my main focus for 2024. My 40th birthday comes 2 days after the start, so it's quite a big year for me. And I'm looking forward to spending my 40th birthday probably riding through Slovenia. Over the next 6-7 months or so, the planning is going to be pretty intensive. The training is going to be very intensive. I've got other races leading up into it to help me build my fitness and my condition. That's my main goal. So if you're not already subscribed and you're interested in the journey for that kind of race, then subscribe and follow. I'll be posting every week or so with updates on how it's going. And at this point, if you've got any questions on the event or the planning, I've still got a lot of it to come. If you've got any questions, ask away. I reply to every comment. Anyway, I'm freezing right now, so pretty close to Arundel and not far from a cafe. I'm actually going to stop this time. Quite often I don't, just crack on, but I want to stop today. Let's go. That was Arundel. Brief stop really, I'm too cold. But the climb over from Amberley. Amberley's a really beautiful place. And you can hire boats and go between Amberley and Arundel and past the castle. It's really worth, in the summer months, making time to stop there and spend a bit of time. Today it's too cold. And the cafe's about 3 miles away. So I'm more interested in coffee and cake. That was the final climb though, which is good news. It's quite a long one, about 2 miles long. Downhill now to the coast pretty much, and then flat all the way back home. Brilliant. That's some good coffee and cake. There's a pro tip for you. If the cafe has a coffee roaster on site that roasts their own beans, it's going to be some good coffee. It's got about 2 hours now to get home, roughly. Slight headwind all the way back, but not too bad. Just going to be a bit chilly, I think. Still, it could be raining. We're back in Portsmouth. It's the end of the ride. The camera has died on me, so on my phone, sorry if there's crap sound. But yeah, finished 95 miles. Pretty decent train ride in the books. Have a good week. I'll see you out next week. Have a social event for the TCR in London. So I have to figure out how to get to that. If you're going to that, then I'll see you there. I think it's about a 50-60k ride somewhere out of central London. Anyway, have a good week. See you on the next one.